What is this game?
Oh man, this one is embarrassing. Imagine releasing a popular indie hit, a game that you made with your friends in a dorm room, and that game pops off, and all of a sudden investors come knocking at your door, and you take their money. You then stop supporting the game that everybody loved, switch gears from being an indie studio to trying to be a AAA studio, essentially chasing the next live service hit, and then falling flat on your face.
Why would you do that? That's the worst. That's literally the worst thing you could have done. You had the road to success literally paved for you in gold. And you straight up went into the woods, masturbating behind a tree, jizzing on a dead squirrel. That's what you did here. You fucked up, and it's only your fault. How can you be this stupid? How can you be this fucking stupid?
That's the story of today's video. You know, normally when we hear about a game that is a bona fide failure, a verifiable flop, we'll see some people come out of the woodwork to try to say that Steam numbers don't mean anything. Those numbers, it's just a number. It's all, really. And usually that's coming from fanboys more than anything else, coping over the failure of the game. But in this case, we are actually hearing it from developers saying that Steam player numbers are just a number.
Oh, from when is this video? 1 month ago? Yeah. The CEO of Wildlight, you know, the people that made Highguard, said the same. And then they fired everyone.
For a live service game, Splitgate has to be one of the most fascinating, tragic, and albeit hilarious
Splitgate
that I think I've ever seen in this entire industry. We have a game.
I have heard of this game. Splitgate, really? I have heard of this game, and I have not heard anything negative so far. So what happened?
Game that is now releasing for what I believe is the second time of them re-releasing the same game that has now been met with Concord-level player numbers, deservedly. Because this is the same studio that had their CEO take the stage at Summer Games Fest to dunk on Call of Duty and Halo, I'm not like the other guys, only to release a hero shooter battle royale with worse monetization. None of this had to happen. This wasn't a bad market or bad timing or anything like that. This is just bad judgment over and over again. This is a studio that turned away from the players that made them, chased money and a version of success that only ever existed in their head. So today, I want to talk about that failure. I want to talk about how I think this is one of the biggest own goals I've ever seen in this.
So it's Splitgate, right? Let's see. Splitgate, here it is. Oh, 90%. Oh no. Oh no. Oh shit. Do you see this? They crashed even harder than Highguard, I think. Oh my god. This is for the ones who don't know. This graph is bad. This is a bad graph. A really bad graph. Then there's a Splitgate Arena Reloaded. I think this might be it. And yeah, it's... Yes, okay. So I'm not 100% sure which of these games it is, but both are done. Both are done. I think it must be this, because this is the newer one. And he said they released it a second time, so it must be this. Yeah, it's done, Shed. It's done, and it's dead.
Industry, and how also I don't think these guys are going to be alone in it. And it's kind of a threat to the rest of indie. Today's video is sponsored by HDMI, and I want to talk to you guys about something that I don't really think anybody really thinks about anymore, mostly because when it's working, you don't really have to. HDMI isn't just a cable brand, it's the underlying technology that is built into your displays, consoles, PCs, handhelds.
HDMI is not a cable brand.
Basically everything we use every single day. Stuff like variable refresh rate, auto low latency mode, and quick frame transporter running in the background quietly, making sure that your input doesn't feel mushy, your screen isn't tearing itself apart, and your display is actually keeping up when frame rates spike.
Is this an ad for a cable?
It's even what makes high refresh rate gaming, 4K and even 8K displays, dynamic HDR, and surround sound audio setups work together rather than fighting one another. If you've ever docked a handheld into a TV, kicked back on the couch, and thought, yeah, this all just works, well, that's not on accident. If you're curious to hear and see more, HDMI LA is showing off a lot of this live at CES this year, including high refresh rate gaming demos and some pretty wild display tech. Check your setup today, make sure you are actually using HDMI gaming features your gear already supports, and you can learn more at hdmi.org. The link's in the description and the pinned comment.
What the fuck was that? What was that? What's going on? Jesus. By the way, looks nice. Nice dress.
Thank you to HDMI LA for sponsoring today's video. I think this story fascinates me so much because it's such a clean example of how self-destructive the AAA mindset and live service model can be. Splitgate almost feels like a lab test for a virus where you take something small that you're working on, you inject it with money, scale, investors, and expectations, and then you watch how fast that virus can spread and your subject dies. And in this case, it didn't take years. It happened almost immediately. Recently, 1047 Games quietly re-released Splitgate 2 under a new name, Splitgate Arena Reloaded. And the reception for this game has been bad, like really bad. It barely even cleared over 2,000 players at its peak, and it's already dropped back.
I just showed you this graph. Yes, it's bad.
Down to averaging just around 1,000 players per day, and this is coming from a studio that's had over $100 million poured into it at this point, a studio that has burned through.
Why? The thing is, I have heard of this game before, at least a Splitgate, but I just literally just have heard about it. I've seen maybe one streamer playing it, and that's it. And that was years ago. So why would anyone put 100 mil into this game? Makes no sense to me.
Its goodwill so thoroughly that when the game came back, the players just didn't. Now, when player counts get this low, alarms start going off, and I don't care how much people want to try to downplay it. For a free-to-play live service shooter, this is just not sustainable.
Oh yeah, this is dead. This is completely dead. And look at the UI. It's literally like every other UI of a free-to-play multiplayer shooter. It's hilarious how they all look the same.
Is barely enough to even keep the servers online. Their current player numbers are only a few hundred players off from where Concord launched, and we already know how that one ended. So when people started pointing this out on Twitter, the studio immediately tried to jump in and shut this conversation down. On Twitter, the official account posted, Steam charts don't measure fun. They show one number, one platform at one given moment. They don't show the full picture of what it actually feels like.
It's kind of true. They don't show the full picture. But they show a part of it. And when that part is fucking ugly, then people will wonder what's with the full picture. What's going on there?
Like to play, and they definitely don't capture the community that is actively helping shape what Arena Reloaded is becoming, including upcoming content like Arena Royale. Over the past 6 months, we rebuilt Splitgate from the ground up because we believe in our game, our team, and our community. The 1047 team remains committed to delivering the best version of Splitgate possible. To our community, thank you. Your feedback and passion have helped make Arena Reloaded better every day. And to everyone who hasn't played, Arena Reloaded is free. The gameplay is the best it's ever been, and we would love for you to jump in and form your own opinion. A lot of passionate people worked very hard on it.
That doesn't matter. No one cares about that. If the game is not good, then no one cares about that. Well, they do kind of care because they will be asking, what happened? And if you don't have a fucking answer, it looks bad for you.
Okay, so I guess we're just denying reality now. Steam charts don't measure fun. That is a complete dodge, and these guys know it. Nobody is asking Steam charts to measure fun. They measure whether people are actually there. And in a live service shooter, that is not some secondary data point. It is the entire game.
Wait. Did they shoot through the ground?
There, and in a live service shooter, that is not some secondary data point. It is the
Oh no, they're coming from behind. Okay.
entire game. If people are not logging in, queuing up, and sticking around, then whatever fun you think you've built is irrelevant. A multiplayer game with no players isn't misunderstood. It's just flat out ignored. I'm sorry, but player numbers directly affect the experience. Low population means slower matchmaking. It means playing the same people over and over again.
True.
It means bot-filled lobbies. That shrinks match variety, that kills progression pacing, and it turns every single lobby into either a sweatfest or a ghost town. Player numbers don't just reflect interest. They actively shape whether the game is going to be enjoyable at all. You don't get to pretend like those numbers are some abstract when it is directly dictating how this game feels minute to minute. Players already voted. They didn't show up. You don't get to try to...
Oh no. Do you see that? Do you see that? They're literally
minute to minute. Players already voted. They didn't...
It's High God. They literally have the same mechanic as High God. What the fuck? And it's not even... Oh, it's close to a High God chest. No, these are the High God chests. With a different skin. Oh my god. Oh my god. What the fuck is going on in the gaming industry? Well, in the Western gaming industry. What the fuck is this shit? I'm scared shit. I'm scared. And also, the player models look meh. Why do I say that? Because they wear a helmet. I mean, it's nice that they have skin-tight shoes on, right? So you can see the curves of the people, right? But they also look boring. There's nothing you want to actually look at. So it's boring. Yeah, great. Another game that, with the exception of its portal thing, is just like every other game. And there's WoW. Is visually not really appealing when it comes to the characters. And has the same loot mechanic as fucking High God. And of course, with that also Apex Legends. Kind of, yeah. It's a while ago since I played Apex. It's so long ago. But yeah, this is whenever, I think now when I ever see a loot chest like this in a shooter, I will like, oh no, as a sign of a game being shit. I think High God made me see them like that. Oh, thank you, High God. Shit ass game.
Show up. You don't get to try to tell them about how passionate you are or anything like that, and they need to go form their own opinion after they already have. Effort does not entitle you to an audience, and belief does not reverse reality. If nobody is playing your live service game, then on some level, it just isn't fun, at least not enough to be able to matter. And I say that after actually playing Splitgate Arena Reloaded myself. I put time into it. Mechanically, it's fine. It plays well. The guns feel responsive. Matches move quickly. And on a purely technical level, it works. But that's also the problem. It just only works. What makes this game not fun isn't the mechanics. It's the complete absence of a community and personality. Nobody's talking in the lobbies. I'm constantly being matched with the same people because the player pool is so small and everything else is just bots filling the gap, which means that every single match is just playing the same way. The maps are functional but forgettable. The characters are faceless. People just wearing suits.
The maps being forgettable is a sin. It's literally is. I still remember maps from Unreal Tournament and Quake 3. I still remember maps from those games. over 20 years ago. Yeah. So the maps being not good is yeah, it's a sin. It's absolutely a sin.
With no personality, no identity, nothing to be able to latch onto. Visually, it's just kind of bland across the board. Nothing sticks, nothing is leaving an impression, and the whole.
So it's kind of like High God. Yeah, I would definitely call this video the High God that we missed. Or something like that. Jesus, this is so bad.
Thing works on a technical level, but it just has no flavor or soul. Arena shooters live by that game-to-game experience. If matches start to blur together, you just start drifting away. You stop caring. You stop logging in. That's something that I talked about just recently with people in my community Discord about whether or not any of these traditional shooters or arena shooters even have a place anymore. And like this, I don't think they do. These games used to thrive on culture, open mics, trash talk, jokes. Now everybody is in private chats, they're playing solo, or they're not even human. And without that,
I think arena shooter game modes can still work if it's not the only thing the game has for it to go. For example, High God could have been better if it had more game modes like team deathmatch, capture the flag, domination, things like that. It could have worked way better that way, but they didn't do that. And a game like this might have worked out better if they, I don't know, would have all kinds of game modes, including a battle royale, for example. Why are these developers so afraid to put a lot of shit into the game? Just put, I mean, you can make one map that and put several game modes on it. I mean, that's not hard. They did that over 20 years ago. And it worked. So what's your problem? Oh, you're incompetent. Great. That's the only reason. That's literally the only reason. For example, I would love for Arc Raiders to have actual PvP only stuff. Like Dominion. On Spaceport, Dominion. Oh, you have to capture 3 points. Okay, good. 2 teams that fight each other. Great. Would work. I think that would work. And yes, the map is very big. That's why you keep switching up the places where the spots are. And you have, teams of 16 people each side. I think it would work. And then people have loadouts they take in to the matches, and then you're good. It would work. I think it would work.
Layer, the entire experience just starts to feel hollow. And what bothers me is that it never had to be this way. Splitgate had a community, it had momentum, and over time they just burned that all away. And now what we're left with is this self-fulfilling prophecy, this game that's no fun because nobody is playing it, and nobody is playing it because the game feels empty. And that emptiness is not a mystery or a market failure, it's just a result of choices. This isn't a game that's struggling to find an audience, it's a studio that already lost one.
Yeah.
Splitgate started off as a small grassroots project built by its founder Ian and a handful of friends, a dorm room game, if you will, and it went into beta in 2019. They slowly built out a core audience, and then it really broke through with
2019, so about 6-7 years ago. Okay.
this 1.0 launch back in 2021. It became one of those pandemic success stories, peaking at over 67,000 concurrent players on Steam, and for a team of roughly 20 developers, that's massive.
But look how it died off. It was literally big for half a month. And then it was dead. Oh no, more than half a month. September, May. May, June, July, August. In June. In July it went up, and in December it was dead. A couple of months of game being alive. Okay. Yeah, okay, yeah.
It's the exact kind of story that we talk about on this channel all the time. But what makes this one different is alongside that 1.0 launch, 1047 Games would also announce that feature development of Splitgate would effectively end. Yeah, they released the game and then threw it onto maintenance mode. And then 2 months later, they would come out and say that they also got a $100 million venture capitalist investment. The team would then pivot almost immediately to a new project, and the player base.
Oh yeah, that was stupid. That announcing that they wouldn't further develop the game and then going on to another game. No, they should have Smart would have been taking the game they had and working on that, increasing its value, what it has in it, and making that the big money maker. That would have been the smart choice. Making a completely new game was retarded. Literally retarded. Stupid decision. Shouldn't have done that.
Felt it just as fast. Within a month, Splitgate's numbers collapsed to under 10,000 concurrent players before everybody else just moved on. But that's fine, right? Because apparently Splitgate 2 is right around the corner, only now it's not a scrappy 20-person development team. No, the studio ballooned to over 170 developers, and then the CEO goes and takes...
Yeah, okay, that's when you knew the game was dead. If they can't make a proper game, they made a proper game, but then why would you need so many people? Why? It makes zero sense why you would need so many people to basically make the exact same game again. I'm flabbergasted, shit. This is so dumb. It's incredible how dumb it is. How can it be this? I don't know. Is it incompetence? Is it arrogance? I'm not sure of what the fault here is, but it's bad.
Takes the stage at Summer Games Fest to finally announce the game's release, and he says that he's tired of Halo. He's sick of Call of Duty and their cycle. He wants Titanfall to come back. He's wearing a Make FPS Great Again hat, and then he announces a Battle Royale hero shooter, and the crowd went mild. Splitgate 2 launched to around 25.
Nice that he said, oh, the crowd went wild, and we see the crowd and nothing happens. Now, I wonder if the crowd actually went wild or nothing happened. I wonder, actually, what happened there.
5,000 concurrent players on Steam, less than half of what the original game had hit just years earlier.
Yeah.
The press had latched on to the controversial hat, unhappy with the political messaging around it. The CEO eventually apologized for it, openly admitting that it was just a...
Oh, it was him. Okay, yeah, he's a retard. He's a retard. Never give in to the Twitter hate mobs.
desperation move to try to get attention, a terrible choice to make because the people that are asking for an apology have no interest in forgiveness. Those same journalists were criticizing him over the hat even after his apology, and ironically, even still today. There was also drama around $80 bundles, to which the CEO said he had no idea how they made their way into the game, and they all blamed it on a former employee. After that, the floor just kind of gave out. Player counts continued to crater. They had layoffs weeks after the game's launch and more a month after that.
The usual, the exact same thing that happened to Highguard and Concord. Yeah, we see that all the time.
The studio blamed it on an early release, pushed the game back into beta, and then they just watched as those player numbers continued.
Yeah, look at these. I mean, nice ass and all. Even the dudes, but the rest of why do they look like that? This is so boring. They all look the same, just have different colors. That's boring. That's completely boring. At least sell skins and show them off in the videos.
To sink even further. Eventually, they just rebranded it as Splitgate Arena Reloaded with a launch in winter 2025, and that's how we got here. A game that started as a genuine success story, a studio that had momentum, goodwill, and an actual community, and a series of decisions that slowly, and then very quickly, burned it all to the ground. we have some professional speedrunners on our hands. These guys folded their entire company in a matter of 5 years. They burned all of their goodwill. They ruined their reputation.
And I guess they ran through $100 million. Yeah, that's impressive.
Have zero positive image within this industry right now. And, you know, I was actually excited when their CEO took the stage at Summer Games Fest. I was like, man, this guy is totally speaking my language right now. I'm sick of the way that first-person shooters are handled today. A bunch of other people are. I would love to see Titanfall come back. I just talked about that somewhat recently. And then this guy goes out and says, here's our Battle Royale hero shooter.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's all bullshit. Something that was proved even further by capitulating to journalists over a hat. My guy. Nobody cared about the hat.
Yeah.
The only people that did were the people that had no interest in playing your game to begin with.
And even they don't actually care. They just wanted to shit on you because they hate you. Because they hate themselves.
I think how they handled that situation, how he handled that situation specifically, really drove interest and trust into the ground for them. Because you already had a bunch of people that were unsure whether or not they could trust them after what happened with Splitgate 1. And then you go on social media and say, I'm not apologizing for the hat. Now I am apologizing for the hat. Now there's $80 bundles in the game. I have no idea how those $80 bundles got into the game. Oh, it was a former employee that just so happened to work for Call of Duty. After that, everybody knows that you're just selling snake oil. It's all PR. Nobody can trust you. You're not worth listening to. That's the reason why Arena Reloaded, relaunched, whatever the hell you want to call it, basically was met with no audience at all because your game isn't impactful enough, interesting enough, or original enough for audiences to want to put up with all of this drama, all the instability, and the inability to be able to trust you.
Just imagine if they not have basically shut down the first game and just, hear me out, developed the Battle Royale mode for the first game instead of creating a completely new game. Ooh. That would have been smart, but we don't do smart here because we retarded. That would literally have been the smartest thing to do. Develop the Battle Royale on the side while still pumping out content for the existing player base and make money with that. And then you bring out the Battle Royale and get additional... Well, you get new players and old players will also at least try it out. So you have just a bunch of game modes for different people to play. Sounds good to me. I mean, back in the day, I didn't play all the game modes in Unreal Tournament. I only played the ones that I like to play. Oh, what a daring concept. Having multiple game modes. And people play the ones they like. Ooh.
You had that. You squandered it. You sold it off. You took the money instead. And I want to be clear, I actually do think this studio cares now, but that's a survival instinct. It's the difference between them having a studio and a game and them having to go work at McDonald's. It's probably a little too rough. They probably go work for Activision.
Yeah.
You learned your lessons, that's great, but it's a little bit too late. Now, who does need to learn the lessons from this is the rest of the industry, and especially indie studios. This entire thing was just caused by hubris. That's all it is. These guys took the money and they overinvested into something, mistaking what made them successful. They didn't understand what made them successful.
Yes.
Icarus flew too close to the sun. And with AAA games struggling, with indie games taking off, AAA is going to start circling these guys for success, which means something like this is bound to happen again. Splitgate's lack of identity, the bad calls around Splitgate 1 and 2, the CEO embarrassing himself on stage, all of that stuff matters, but the bigger issue here, the one that actually explains why this collapsed the way that it did, is that 1047 completely misread the interest around their own game. They treated Splitgate like it was this foundation for a massive AAA scale live service platform, when in reality, it just wasn't built for that. And once they tried to force it into that shape, everything started to break. Splitgate 1 was a solid game. people liked it, but it also launched in a very specific moment. Like a lot of games during the pandemic, it benefited from audiences that had a lot more time, fewer alternatives, and a higher tolerance for sticking around. When the player count fell to around 10,000 players within a month, that wasn't some freak collapse. That was probably the real size of that game's audience. And that number keeps showing up again, or at least right in that neighborhood. With Splitgate 2, that was 25,000 players. With Arena Reloaded, it's just 2,000 players. Every launch...
Yeah, the 67,000, yeah, that was just extremely high because the people didn't know what this game actually is. And then they knew, and 40,000 of those didn't care. And so they also wouldn't even try that second one. It's very simple math.
Roughly lands in that same place because, well, that's just the ceiling that they never wanted to acknowledge. That misread is exactly why that $100 million investment changed everything for these guys. Those investors did not come in looking for a modest arena shooter with a loyal niche. They were chasing the next GTA, the next Fortnite, the next live service unicorn. This is the same time frame where we saw billions of dollars.
Then why would they go for the developers of that game? Makes zero sense to me. It's absolutely retarded. But then we have seen that investors, when it comes to games, are completely retarded. Completely. They have no idea what they're doing.
Being dumped into gaming startups on pure speculation alone. And when you go from a 20-person team to a studio of more than 170 people, when you're suddenly sitting on 9 figures to make your next game, your priorities are going to shift. You're going to stop building for the audience that you have, and you're going to start designing for an audience that you wish existed. You're going to chase trends. You're going to widen the funnel. You're going to build monetization first and hope the rest of the game follows. That's why that monetization story matters to me. Hiring a former Call of Duty monetization manager is not an accident, and I do not buy it for a second that their leadership somehow just didn't know that the game launched with $80 bundles and aggressive pricing pretty much across the board. When you're operating at that scale, those kind of decisions do not slip through the cracks. And by the time Splitgate reached that point, the studio is now answering to their investors instead of their players, and they're not thinking about protecting a community anymore. They're just trying to justify an investment. And I think that shift in mindset leads directly into the real fracture. Walking away from Splitgate 1 that close to launch is the moment that players realize that the studio had already moved on. Live service games survive on the idea that if I invest my time into them, then the game is going to invest right back into me. Splitgate broke that expectation.
Yes, I think that's actually true. And I think that's why some people are kind of pissy at Embark, because they haven't released any actual new content since, well, the release of the indoor map, Stellar Montes, which was close to the end of November. So yeah, people are desperate for actual new content. Now, Cold Snap was great, and it still is great. That's why they brought it back. I really like Cold Snap. I play in that thing whenever I can. Unless I'm doing something specifically that requires me not to be there. But yeah, that's how much I like Cold Snap. It's great. And yes, I will. I said that before in a lot of videos, and I will say it over and over again. Because it's that good.
Almost immediately, and once players see that, well, they're going to leave too. And after that, the studio just forgot about who they were. They blew up in size. Everything started getting safer. When you go from 20 people to over 170, decisions don't come from instinct anymore. They come from consensus. Ideas are going to get watered down, risks are going to get avoided, and anything that's too sharp is going to get smoothed out. Instead of asking what makes this game ours, the question becomes, what is the safest version of this game that we can ship? And if that's what you end up with, well, that's how the game is going to technically work, but that doesn't mean that game is going to stick. Nothing bold, nothing memorable, nothing that's going to give players a reason to want to come back to it after playing it for a few sessions. I just think that these guys are way too self-assured, or maybe investor-assured is probably the better term here. That Summer Games Fest moment now tells me everything that I need to know, because of how these guys saw themselves. You don't posture yourself as the savior of the genre if you don't believe that you belong on that stage. But that confidence did not come from the players. It came from capital. From that point
Most
on,
likely, yeah.
Splitgate was not being shaped by the community anymore. It was being shaped around expectations set by investors, by headcounts, by the idea that this game had to be big and that it would be big. And once that became the goal, well, the game itself stopped being the point.
Yeah.
I think
And
this is
that's
a
the
real
problem.
trap for indie studios right now. Indie is getting bigger. The money these guys are making is getting louder. They are looking more consistent than AAA right now. And the
AAA is dead. At least in the West. Western AAA developers are dead. They're completely dead. You shouldn't look forward to any of their games because they don't know what they're doing.
pressure for these guys to scale is going to be constant. But the moment that you stop building for the audience that you already have and you start building for people that want to cut you a check, you're going to lose your footing. I'm telling you right now, a huge amount of what is wrong with games today comes from that shift. It's not just players buying games anymore. It's investors, partners, stakeholders, all with their own expectations that are going to kick in long before players ever get a say. And once that happens, the conversation stops being about what do we want to make? What do the players actually want to play? And it turns into how do we get our money back? And how do we make more on top of that? I think this is where that Splitgate story really starts to become a warning sign, because the studios that are tending to hold on to their identity are the ones that are staying in their scope and they're not letting outside money steer the wheel. I'll use Silksong as an easy example here. Team Cherry kept to themselves, they stayed quiet, and they just did the work. And Silksong found success. I think it's worth bringing up that just a few years ago, it was reported that Xbox had a list of studios that they wanted to keep an eye on a few years back, and well, that was for Game Pass deals and possibly acquisitions. And that list reportedly included teams like Team Cherry alongside Moon Studios, Munfish, and Hello Games. Now, I don't know what kind of conversations they had behind the scenes, but at this point, the pressure is real and the temptation is real. And these guys have to watch out. Actually, now that I think about it, Hello Games is probably one of the best examples we could use here. No Man's Sky started off self-funded by that studio, but Sony stepped in and they wanted to fund and handle the marketing.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I completely agree here. If you have followed what happened to No Man's Sky, Internet Historian made a video about it. It's great. Watched it a lot of times while watching reacts, of course, and it's very detailed. It's tremendous how much they fucked up with promoting the game and making it look bigger than it actually was when it came out.
Distribution. And once that happened, everything changed for those guys. They got the AAA hype cycle. Sean Murray was pushed into endless interviews that he was just not equipped to be able to handle. Deadlines got hardened, and then Sony started pushing those deadlines faster and faster. Expectations ballooned well past whatever that team could realistically deliver at launch, and it turned into one of the most infamous releases in modern gaming. Hello Games repaired that reputation and that game over time, and honestly, they're still doing it even to this day for some odd reason. They definitely don't have to. It's basically a once-in-a-lifetime comeback, but that's the exception. Most studios do not get a second chance, and Splitgate, I don't think that...
This is No Man's Sky, and I think it looks great. It looks way better than it did when it came out. This looks amazing. This looks like a game I would play. And I actually said last year that I would play it. This year, somewhere. I don't know when though.
That game is getting a second chance. What's sad is how unnecessary all of this is. There's a version of this story where Splitgate stayed small, stayed weird, stayed honest about what it was, and quietly carved out a long life for itself. It wasn't going to be the biggest shooter on the planet, but it never needed to be. Instead...
Yes, and that would have worked out perfectly fine. And they could have worked on a Battle Royale mode on the side, and then just release that for the same game. There. Done. But no, they were greedy. They were greedy. That's it, they were greedy.
almost every decision after that initial success just pushed them further and further away from the thing that made people care in the first place. This wasn't a mystery. This wasn't bad luck. It was just a chain of bad decisions that made sense to investors and spreadsheets, but completely failed in reality. A studio that had momentum, goodwill, and a real community, but chose scale over stability, optics over identity, ambition over restraint, and they ended up paying for it. I'm telling you, man, investors are the bane of this industry. They just don't belong here. It's just like oil and water. They just don't.
No, it depends on the investors. There are the investors that are completely fine. Like Nexon that owns Embark, or at least finances them. They seem to be completely fine. And they had a runaway success with Embark's creators. That game made so much money. Nexon itself made over 200 million. Over 200 million in just one quarter. That's massive. It's massive. And they finally broke into the Western market with that game. I mean, they were in the Western market, but their share of the Western market in their entire company was so small that it was almost negligible. But now it's huge. It's almost half. That's how successful. That's literally how successful our creators is. I'm really happy for them, and I'm happy because the game is so fun to me. Finally, something that I enjoy playing.
Mix, and the minute they cut that check is the minute that you put something in someone before your games and your audience. And that just doesn't work out in the long run. While I'm sure there's some games it works out for and other games it doesn't, I do not think it works out for these games over time. And if you look at AAA and all these publishers, it's like the parasite that's attached to them at all times. It's just sucking away resources and talent and creativity and restraint and ultimately good games. Investors demand constant growth. Not only do they want their return on investment, but they constantly want to make profits then after that. They're always...
That's a problem, yes. That's a problem. The greed is a problem. Not the, oh, I need to make money. That's not a problem. The greed is the problem. That's why it's one of the 7 deadly sins.
Is expecting the number to go up. And more than anything, a lot of these guys are looking for predictability. They're looking for predictable returns from a lot of these games. And I've said this before. I've said it 100 times, and I'll keep saying it. The video game industry, at least from my perspective, is anything but predictable. Well, I definitely think there's some games you could look at and say, oh, yeah, that's a for sure thing. The thing that's not for sure is where the players are at. And also whatever else is going on with your competition. You know, I like more times than not, I am relatively on the mark with some of my predictions that I make. But with Arc Raiders, while I thought that game was going to do really well, I didn't think it was going to do nearly as well as it has.
Understandable.
Or that it's continued to do since then. I mean, who would have guessed that this genre actually would have clicked with players on a mass scale, especially with casual players? But it's just the way that they built their game and how they put it together that it actually makes sense. And yeah.
Who could have guessed if you built a game for casual players that you would get a lot of players? I mean, who could have guessed that shit? Build a game for casual players, you get a lot of casual players. Oh, who could have guessed? Yeah, it's such a surprise.
It's performing well beyond what I thought they were capable of. I genuinely am afraid for indie. These guys have been making a lot of money. A lot of money. Some of these games have outperformed AAA. A lot of these games have been outperforming AAA. And from an investor perspective, if I was to take myself out of my video game chair, this looks like the safest investment I've ever seen.
Yes.
Because these guys are way low to the ground. They don't need nearly as much money, so there's very little risk involved. If it fails, okay, I didn't really lose that much money. But the upside is like penny stocks. You could 100x your money if the profits are good enough. If the game blows up and
Yes.
just makes a ton of cash, well, you're going to get rich as a result of it. And I think a lot
For the ones who might not get it, Splitgate got 100 million for one game. Now imagine the investor would have put this 100 million into 100 indie developers. Each indie developer gets 1 mil. Something there would have made money. And with 100 indie development studios, they would have made their money back. They would have. It's not even a big risk at all. Completely not. It's very, very measurable, the risk there. I would have done that. Why would I invest 100 mil in one studio that had one kind of successful thing when I can invest 100 mil in 100 studios? To me, that sounds way better. Even if I only invest in one-person studios, 100 one-person studios, each 1 mil, they can completely focus on making the game. They don't need to worry about money. Because 1 mil gets you far if you're just one person working on something.
of these guys are going to be coming in and looking at that. While a lot of the venture capitalist money is dried up in this industry, at least for now, it's going to be coming back. It always does eventually. And I think the temptation is going to be there for a lot of these studios to scale up when they start seeing some of those checks get cut. But I think that one of the things that makes these indie games what they are is the fact that it's a small, passionate team that's working on it, not a team that scales up past 100 people.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Splitgate, 1047, these guys literally scaled up to a AAA studio. 170 plus people. That's what most AAA studios have, at least in some of their like smaller satellite studios.
Yes, and it makes 0 sense why you would do that. Zero. You got the money when you were a couple of people, so the investor thought you would stay a couple of people. At least I would guess that. If I would have invested in them, I wouldn't have told them to, oh yeah, go to over 100 people in your studio. Oh no. I mean, where would the money go? Not into the game.
That's a lot of people, man. It's a lot of expectations. It's a lot of salaries that you have to pay, and that's a lot of money that you have to make on top of that to be able to make profits
Exactly.
to the people that invested in you. And those are the expectations that I don't think a lot of these games can keep up with. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did enjoy the video, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Twitch, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Kick.
And yes, be subscribed.
And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Stay cool, stay righteous, stay safe. Peace.
Great video. Awesome video. This was really, really good. Really good.